everybody. This is Suzette Skidmore with Healing Solutions Incorporated, and we're going to do a redo on the live. I did not realize that the headset was not working, so that made the previous live very hard to hear. So we're going to do a redo. So we're going to talk about our journaling questions for weeks 7 and 8. I want to say thank you for being patient with me. We had a death in the family, so I missed our last 2 Facebook Lives, so we're getting back on track. So question 7 is, how do you feel we can support our national, state, and local governments now that we are in a pandemic? And list a minimum of 5 ways you can be supportive and how you plan to implement that support. The second question is, how do you feel we have done as a society to support or harm our community? And list a minimum of 5 harmful and helpful ways and how your thinking society is treating you. 2 big questions, right? And they actually kind of go pretty well together. So I wanted to get into those a little bit as what's going on. So one of the big questions is, how do you support government, especially when there's so much miscommunication going on and drama that's going on and situations that are going on. And so we'll talk more about the George Floyd issue in the second question, but about how you can be harmful or helpful to society. But we'll start right now with our how do you feel we can support our national, state, and local governments through the pandemic, and to list 5 ways that you feel you can be supportive. So in thinking about it on a national level, it's kind of hard to have an impact on the government, but I was thinking about the corporations that changed their business planning so that they could support the pandemic. So, people who chose to make ventilators or make masks. We even had a local company called DV8 Spirits. They distill vodka, and during the pandemic, they were able to change their process and do hand sanitizer. So they were able to ship that to a couple of different people when we had the shortage of hand sanitizer, and smelled a little bit like vodka. So it was great to see how corporations on a bigger scale were able to help out on a national level. When I think about the state level, it's more about, what are we doing here within our state? Obviously being compliant to what the rules are is supportive, and listening to what all the restrictions are. And we certainly I have that as a business owner. I have that as a human being, of what I can do to be supportive to our community as well as our government and following their guidelines. From a local standpoint, it's been more just, being part of the community and, letting people know that people care. And the biggest thing, I guess, is having a voice. I think that was the biggest insight I got when I thought about support, is before the pandemic, I couldn't tell you who my senator was or who my congressman was. I did my research when it came time to vote, but I didn't necessarily retain who they were. But through the pandemic, I ended up sending letters to support small business because, telling us all not to work is a huge issue. If I don't work, I don't get paid. So for the CARES Act, I made sure that I went out of my way to send letters to congressmen and to senators to say, you need to remember, the massage therapists and the hair salons and all those people that are self-employed that now can't create an income because of the shutdown that you did. So that's probably been my biggest insight, is that I need to have a voice. And if I'm not giving a voice, then how can I expect a politician to do the right thing if the right thing isn't being said? So a great parenting technique that parents will appreciate is you need to reinforce good behavior. So if I'm not reinforcing the things I want my congressmen and senators to do, then they're going to just keep doing bad things. So I feel like it's important to have a voice. And so now I'm on an email list for one of the senators and send replies from time to time saying, no, I don't support the HEROES Act. That seemed to be more about voting issues than it was about helping people. And, if you're going to write an act something that's going to help the people, not work on some political agenda. So I'll be curious to see what the bipartisan act comes out with, and if it will be more about helping people than it is about political agendas. So that's been the biggest insight I got from this question. But the 5 ways that I was looking at is, one is obviously having more of a voice in the world to say, this I support, this I don't support, and taking a little more time in that political view. The other thing I was thinking of is the one thing the governor of Colorado has done is that he's at least doing what he's expecting everybody else to do. And I have a lot of respect for people who practice what they preach. Now I think he could be doing things a little faster, but at least, he's wearing his mask. He's gone and gotten a COVID test. Obviously, he's getting tested more often than others, but he was willing to, do it on television to show people how the test was done and how easy it was, and if they had any concerns, then this is the process. So I appreciate that he's been willing to do that. So I appreciate that. The other is just kind of following the guidelines. I'm wearing the mask because I want to keep people safe. I don't wear it when I'm outside. I do wear it when I go shopping. I do wear it when I'm working on my clients because it's important to protect them. So, I'm being respectful and following the guidelines that have been set for me as a business owner and just as a human being. The nice thing is I'm looking for a lot more things to do outside because I don't like wearing it. And then just kind of continuing to do local support, to let people know that you care and what they do makes a difference. If you drive by a hospital, you'll see signs that say heroes work here, or one of the things, the building that I work in has a lot of mental health professionals. So I went and drew hearts on the sidewalk just to encourage them because this is a time when mental health is very, very difficult because people are being so isolated and not being able to get the support that they need. So that was one of the things that I did to be helpful on a local standpoint. So think about some ways that you can be supportive and how you can offer some local support to your government. Maybe it's time to figure out who your senator and congressman is so that you can offer some support and a voice to say, no, don't do that, I don't like that. And maybe the more no's they hear and the more yeses they have on better options and better choices, and maybe they'll start to make better choices. So that's question 7. All right, question 8 is how do we feel we have done as a society to support or harm our community? List a minimum of 5 harmful ways and helpful ways, and how are you coping with how society is treating you? Wow, the George Floyd situation certainly has brought that question in a much bigger light. My condolences go out to his family. I completely am against police brutality. I hope that justice is served there. I think that that's very important that that happens. But boy, what a great example, right? You can be harmful or you can be helpful. So the protesters who are choosing to protest in a peaceful way are being helpful, right? They're saying, we see this police brutality and we're not okay with it. Then you have the people who are harmful who are out destroying people's property that they don't even own. You don't hear them smashing in their car windows or the windows to their house. They're choosing to do it to businesses who are already barely holding on, and now they have to file insurance claims for the windows and glasses that have been broken and for all the stuff that's been stolen. And for what? For what? I don't believe the riots had anything to do with George Floyd. I think the riots was a combination of alcohol, drugs, and anger because people wanted to feel powerful and not feel oppressed anymore, so they decided to destroy somebody else's stuff. And that's just not okay. That is very, very harmful. And I think it's selfish, and I think it is self-serving, and I think that puts them right up there with the police officers. They're not there to help anybody, and if they hurt people, I mean, my goodness, here's a police chief who served for 22 years who is also colored, and no one's celebrating him, and he dies because he was trying to protect somebody's business. Instead, we are celebrating a man who was a criminal. I mean, it's not like the police showed up because they were bored. They got called. The man was high on drugs. It obviously took 3 of them to get him to the ground because he certainly wasn't volunteering to be arrested. I believe that the police officers went too far, and I'm not okay with that. But I don't understand why we're celebrating a criminal. I think we should be celebrating the police officer who was protecting our way of life and got shot. That's the person who deserves 3 funerals. That's the person we should be creating as a martyr, not a criminal. Ugh, that just makes me sick to my stomach. So I think we have seen how society can be harmful. And we all, you may or may not be aware that when you get angry, like your frontal cortex shuts down. You're not thinking. You can't think because all you're seeing is red and you're in fight or flight. So, you add alcohol and drugs to that, it's just a combination for disaster. And that's what I think the riots have been. They've just been a complete disaster that aren't there to do anything. And unfortunately, George Floyd isn't going to be the last person that gets shot, and he's not going to be, and he wasn't the first person. Is there a problem with police brutality? Yes. Is that something that needs to be changed and brought to light? Absolutely. Um, but riots aren't the way to do it. Protesting is certainly um, something that shows that we see. We see what's going on. So, how can you be harmful to society? Obviously, the riots and destruction of property have been harmful to our society. The power trip, I believe that's what was going on with the police officer who ended up killing George Floyd. He was on a power trip, um, pushing things too far, trying to get someone on his belief system. There's people who are actually getting up in other people's faces because they're not wearing a mask. It's their belief system. If you are concerned, don't go around them and put your mask on. Road rage. Now that more people in our state are open, you're starting to see some of the road rage because people have been feeling so oppressed. A certain level of impatience is showing up. I certainly experienced that yesterday. I was in the grocery store trying to purchase something, and there was these two ladies. They stood there. I must have waited for 3 minutes, and they still hadn't made up their mind, didn't pay any attention to anything going around them. Finally, I just went up and got what I needed because I was like, this is ridiculous. Um, so a certain sense of impatience can be harmful to society. And then escalating the drama. That's what the rioting is doing, is escalating the drama, um, making a martyr out of a criminal. Escalating drama. And the news media, what have they been doing? Nothing but escalating drama. More and more and more. I mean, really, does a guy need 3 funerals? Really? What happened to COVID? That brings a whole different level of questions of, I lost a family member. They're not having a funeral service right now because of COVID. That all of a sudden now we can have this mass gathering for a gentleman who was a criminal that lost his life due to police brutality. Okay, so what's the real deal? It makes you question everything that we're being told when not all the rules apply to the rules that apply to me aren't applying to George Floyd. So I'm completely not okay with that. All right, so enough of the negative. Let's talk about some positive things. So some things that you can do that can be supportive to our society. One is following the guidelines. You might not agree with them, you might not like them, but following them at least creates more of a harmony and a balance because they're trying to do things that are protective, and it isn't going to hurt you to take somebody's temperature. That's one of the things I have to do, and it just reinforces that yes, they're healthy, and the more messages I can get out there that says you're healthy, then that's what I want to do. Inspiring other people with an email or a text. Just I'm thinking about you. I hope things are going well. Another thing is we were doing the 8 o'clock howl. It seems silly, but it let other people in our community know. It was fun to see the kids get out there and howl, just to have a voice, right, to say I'm here, I'm alive, I'm valuable, and so I feel that was really important. Now we have a lot more of our neighbors going for walks outside, so it's a chance to wave at them and say hello. Without the pandemic, they would mostly be staying in their house. So it was nice to be able to just wave and say hello to people and let them know that they matter and that they're being seen. You can draw hearts. I had a friend who was having a bad day, and so I went over to her house and had some chalk and drew some hearts on her driveway just to let her know that she was still cared about. And I've seen it where people who have had birthdays, they can't get together to celebrate the birthday, but they drive by and honk, or they hoot and holler, or they'll tie balloons to their door or their mailbox, depending on their situation. So those are all things that society are doing to be helpful. There's a sense of gratitude going on. And so it's a choice, right? We all have a choice. You can either choose to be harmful or you can choose to be helpful. You can do random acts of violence or you can do random acts of kindness. And I really, really hope that we will take this time to start doing more kindness because that's really what is needed. We're all feeling the pressure of not being able to work and the bills and the stress, and that's at all different levels. Like depending on your household and what's going on there, it's all different for all of us. But if we can show kindness, if we can do random acts of kindness, then that's going to do so much more for our society than someone going around hurting other people's property or hurting other people, because it's just not okay. I'm tired of the violence. I don't know about you. I'm tired of staying home. I'm tired of wearing a mask. But if that means wearing a mask helps keep people safe, it allows me to go shopping when I want to go shopping, then that's what I'm going to do right now to show support to what people are trying to do to help keep me healthy and help keep other people healthy. So this is Suzette Skidmore with Healing Solutions Incorporated, encouraging you to be helpful to society and to do some random acts of kindness. So we'll see you next week, and we'll be doing journaling questions 9 and 10 about new habits and fun things that you can do to bring joy back into your life. So have a great day.